Thank you so much, each one of you from different parts of the world today. I want to welcome you on behalf of Kashmir Care Foundation to International Women's Day. I have learned over the last 2 days a lot. Listening to Tanzila and Mahi and Sabaji and Falak and others, Ifra. So I've become a better person. But I want to take you back to my mother's time in Kashmir. Our time, my generation, and the generation next. That's Sana and her friend, my other daughter, Sarah, and Sana, another Sana from Pirbag, and Fiza. My mother, I think, could have been one of the best finance officer of the state. But her uncles decided she should not study. So she studied till grade 2 or 3. Ich zone kadlichkat. Gurgar mahalichkat. But she, as she grew up and raised 7 of us, did all the financing of the house. उनकी फॉर्मल एजुकेशन नहीं थी, वो उर्दू भी पढ़ लेती थी, हिंदी भी बोल लेती थी, अंग्रेजी पढ़ती अस्कात करा. So that tells you how dangerous she could have been if she had actually a master's and a bachelor's or something that each one of us had. So that's before me, before my generation. Meri generation mein, we saw women come and play, my sisters, my cousins, neighbors. But I think for a variety of reasons, including their own limitations and the limitations we imposed on them, we mean the men, the brothers and the fathers and the husbands. I don't think they excelled. They retired as head of the departments and this and that. But if you probe and investigate, I think something still held them back. Ab hamari generation next. I think that's what the future is. That's what the charm is. So I honestly, I'm so excited that I'm looking at that charm. Kudsiya meri bhi physics bahut hi kamzor thi. I was good if I got 33%. Lam pass na Kashmir Patnan LMP. Bosus physics na LMP. Kashmir Care Foundation, Azmat ji and Kudsiya is a platform. We have conversations, we inform each other, we engage with each other, and we inspire someone. I'm inspired by you today, and hopefully what we do will inspire you over the next few weeks, few months, few years. You had to believe me when I say you're the finest amongst us. You're the best amongst us because of what you chose to do. You challenged the systems. But the challenge isn't complete. The task is you amplify what you do. You keep on creating Sanas, Kudsiyas, Azmats, and others in the space so that the next generation is rich of wisdom, talent, and compassion, because that comes from women. Nothing against my brothers, men. We lack many things that you have, and you have. Allah Ta'ala ne aapko abundance mein diya hai. Amir Saab bhi has rahe hain, Zoor Saab thode serious ho gaye hain. But you bring up, mashallah, so much good. So Tanzila, with those comments, I'm going to come towards the end with the concept that I want to share with everyone today. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Mahi. Actually, it's over to you.
No, I just want to say thank you, Dr. Saab, for starting this discussion. I want to also formally thank you all in the panel for joining us on the International Women's Day. It's actually an International Women's History Month, but particularly this day. It should be every day, but today is the time for us to honor the resilience, strength, and contribution of women across all walks of life. But it's also a reminder that while progress has been made, we're still confronted with issues such as unequal representation of women in leadership roles. Across the globe, there are wage gaps, and there's an ongoing fight against gender discrimination, which I'm sure we have different veiled versions of it where we are and which part of society we are operating in different parts of the world. So this is a continuing conversation, but I want Tanzila to say a few words before we dive deep into the discussion today.
I actually decided that let me share a couplet that I learned when I was in class 10th. So it goes like this. I don't really know the source of it. Maybe I heard it on the TV sometime. It says, किस में जुर्रत है, किस में जुर्रत है जो लाए हमारी परवाज में कोताही, किस में जुर्रत है जो लाए हमारी परवाज में कोताही, हम परों से नहीं हौसलों से उड़ते हैं. So when I actually see so many wonderful, amazing, accomplished women here, I want to say that, you know what, I think I can relate to this couplet so much because, हम सच में परों से नहीं हौसलों से उड़ते हैं, and we have been so resilient throughout our careers. Uh, so this day, Women's Day, International Women's Day, it serves as a reminder that while strides towards gender equality and equity have been made, but women still face those systemic challenges, and we have to address them by improving our representation across all fields. And on that note, I would like to welcome all of you again. Just a second. I'd like to welcome all of you again, and we celebrate your accomplishments, we celebrate your achievements, while we are celebrating the achievements of all the women across history. And let's reflect on the challenges today throughout our conversation, and we'd really like to know more about your journey as well. Mahi, jump in whenever you want to as well. So Mahi and I will be like kind of the coordinators. So please jump in whenever. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Tanzila. So as we go through this agile dynamic, but I just wanted to, before we jump right into questions, I wanted to say that, of course, the small panel is not a forum to solve for everything, but I do want to give us all an opportunity to discuss who we are, our backgrounds, what inspires us on a daily basis, and the kind of changes we want to see in our homes, in the policies in the world, in the workplace, and everyday actions that we do, how we lift each other up and create a sisterhood of women. I think that's needed across the board. But our goal is also today to raise some awareness, because a lot of us who have, made the way a little bit, I think we have dug our own path to wherever we wanted to go. It shouldn't be the case. It should be easier for people behind us, people of the coming generations, to forge ahead and grab their ambition by horns. So maybe we could discuss about the challenges we have faced and how we have actually overcome them and are still overcoming. So without further ado, I think we should jump into the questions. And I want to start the panel off with asking all of you one at a time, and we can go through the screen. Tanzila, feel free to go through the screen. The question really is to tell us about yourself. What inspired you to pursue your current career, whether it's incidental or by choice, and the challenges that you have overcome to get here? And I know this has not been easy. So tell us about the toughest times or the toughest decisions that you have made in your career. And just to add to it, because the discussion is really big, is as you go through your own journey, I'm sure you'll come to a moment where you would want to know what you would have said to your younger self. And I can repeat the question as we are going through the discussion, but we really want to know a little bit about who you are, what makes you you, and the story you tell your younger self to be inspired. So I will start on my screen. I think I have Azmatji. So I can start with that, and then Tanzila, you can take over and go through the panel.
Thank you so much, Mahi. I think it's a very interesting question, and I think I would actually want to continue from where Dr. Adaf sort of stopped, where he was talking about his mother's generation and the opportunities they did not get. I'm a computer science engineer by education, and I come from a family that's really seen educated, empowered women all along. I come from a family that traces back its ancestry in a certain way to Begum Zafar Ali, who was one of the pioneering women in education for Kashmiri women, especially in my community. I come from the Shia community. She was the first Kashmiri matriculate woman. Her father was the first Kashmiri matriculate who went to Lahore on foot to appear in his matriculation examination. My mother is a doctor. So, I come from a family of very well accomplished, educated women. So it was naturally expected of me to excel in academics. Whereas I decided to go down a completely different path. I decided to start a restaurant that served Vazwan. And I remember a conversation that happened between a certain person within our mohalla. My brother was about to get married, and he'd just gotten engaged. And a person from our mohalla met a person from their mohalla and said, Fala instance ko irchu, fala instance this nature sit, gunmut, ladka kyuchu. And in a very typical Kashmiri fashion, the man replied, saying, Ladkuchu varya asal, magar benches karan vazakar. So, I mean, uh, I think, when you come from a family which expects you to excel in academics, deciding to go down a path, and I'm a first generation entrepreneur. Yes, my great grandfather used to have businesses, etc., but it was a completely different story altogether. So I think the first challenge was to be able to break that stereotype within my own family, within my, for my own parents, that yes, I have pursued engineering, but that's not the path that I want to go down. I want to do something completely different. I think my mother's still not really come around the idea. My father, however, has stood beside me and supported me all through. So I think the first challenge was to break out of that mold that was created by my own family in that sense. Beyond that, of course, societal expectations, all sorts of different things. And more than anything else, when I actually got down to business, I realized that Vazwan in itself, or, when you talk about cooking, it's considered one of those stereotypical gender roles which is assigned to women, especially in the subcontinent, where a woman's place is in the kitchen. That's where she naturally belongs. But the minute you start talking about women earning out of the whole process of cooking, or maybe running a restaurant in itself, uh, it's not something that the society very naturally accepts. When you look at Vazwan also, traditionally, the women are only reduced to tsaring hak and pran and, cleaning the greens and doing the cutting and the chopping and the background work. The cooking is done by the Vaza. The shots are called by the Vaza. I flipped that entire script on its head when I started Sarposh. There was no blueprint to follow. Nobody had ever done something like this, let alone, you know, let alone a woman. Men, yes, had tried to open Kashmiri restaurants, but they were mostly men who belonged to families that were involved with Vazwan, Vazas themselves moving to different cities, trying to set up a small shop. The scale and the way of operations that I designed for Sarposh was something that I had no blueprint for whatsoever. It did not fit the norm of what a regular normal restaurant should look like or how it's supposed to operate, because when if I would have done that, I had to compromise with everything that our cuisine and all the traditional methods of cooking actually stood for. So I had to find a balance between all of that, and it was initially extremely difficult to get a bunch of very very uh, set in their ways vazas to come all the way to Bangalore and take instructions from a 23-year-old girl who had no idea how anything uh, within the scope of Vazwan operated at all. I mean, I didn't even know what the meat was supposed to be like. I had no idea. I had no clue whatsoever. And that's something that I had to learn on the job with my team looking at me saying, "Ims kya taarif kare?" And I had to ensure that कि मैं taarif kare. So I had to learn all of that all along. So it's definitely been quite a journey. We're here now, and it's been 7 years of me doing this. We've catered to every possible, big name within India. We've done international events. My team traveled to France, they traveled to London, they traveled to Dubai. They catered for the Ambani wedding, they catered for the Raheja wedding. They're just flying tomorrow to cater to the Shetties. We're doing a catering every single week. Besides that, I mean, the restaurant was able to create a mark of its own. The restaurant was able to create a space where we were absolutely adamant on not watering down Kashmiri cuisine to suit anybody's needs or wants. It was a place where if you walk in and you said you wanted a Rogan Josh to be made spicy, you were shown the door or asked to eat something which was spicy. So, we were really a place that decided to stick its ground. We stuck our heel into the ground and said, it is what it is, and we're either going to do right by it or we are not going to do it. which is also something that, people from Kashmir, when they want to promote Kashmiri food, culture, cuisine, arts, crafts, just for the sake of being able to make that one sale or to convert that one customer. I think it comes from the fact that we are probably, a state that's generally been catering to tourist crowd. We will go to any length to please the customer. And the customer is always right in the eyes of a Kashmiri businessman. And that's something that we really, really had to fight against. And it was a journey. I remember the first few years where we had so many instances of people not being able to understand the food at all. But here we are now, and we are one of those spaces that are recognized for Kashmiri food. And instead of, chefs or wazas from Kashmir or restaurants from Kashmir being called to represent Kashmiri cuisine, we are there sitting down in the south in Bangalore and going around really holding the Kashmiri flag high. So, yeah, I hope I've not trailed on. If you need me to circle back to something, I would love to, but that's what the journey has been so far, and hopefully, onwards and upwards.
This is
Incredible.
absolutely, like, this is awesome, is the word I want to use. So you could go on for an hour. I wouldn't stop you, but like, I think I'll go into the next speaker, and then Zil, you can take over. On my screen next is Kutsyaji. So I will tell you though, I loved physics. From the day I hit the word P, I have loved physics. So I'm delighted to have you here. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Assalamu alaikum to all the people on the panel. At the very onset, I would like to pay my sincere thanks to Mr. Altaf Lal and Kashmir Care Foundation for giving me an opportunity. This is the first of its kind event that I am attending or participating in. I consider it's a matter of honor as well as a pleasure for me. Well, as I told earlier, that I come from a farmer's family in Pulwama, but for a pretty long time, we have now been staying in Srinagar for quite some years. Bulk of the people in my family or even in my extended family are illiterates, purely illiterates, because we are a pure farmer's family. There are a handful of people in my family or in my vicinity who are moderately educated, but thankfully my own father was a science graduate. He's a science graduate. My parents, my mother, my father, they have been the real heroes in my success story. Since there were not much educated people around me, so I should not say that there were any inspirations, nor were there any pressures. But I could feel it since the early days of my childhood that I have a natural inclination towards mathematics. And since mathematics is considered as the language of physics, that paved the way towards physics itself, right? So I would not say that somebody motivated me for this, somebody persuaded me for this. That was not the case. I was naturally inclined to the subject and I took it up. I did my schooling from a local government school here in Srinagar itself. And then I pursued my higher education from University of Kashmir, graduation, post-graduation and PhD, all of it from there. And I have to tell you one specific thing, that when I got admission in the PG course in physics in the University of Kashmir, our senior batchmates, our senior group, they tried to rag us because it used to be a culture. It's prevalent even now, even though sparsely, but it is there. So they said this one explicit statement that I remember very clearly, that physics mein ladkiyan aise lagti hai jaise gynecology mein boys. But then I emerged as the topper of the batch. Not only like that, but my score was highest in the preceding 20 years of the history of the department. Then I was, thankfully, I was also the first woman candidate from JNK to crack some other national level competitions like National Eligibility Test, Junior Research Fellowship, JRF, and GATE. So then I also figured at Serial 1, Alhamdulillah, by God's grace, by His mercy, in the Public Service Commission selection list also, when we were appointed for the post of assistant professor. Now, since our job is a transferable job, I mean, we keep moving from one college to another, from one district to another. Previously, I have served at Government College for Women, MA Road, Srinagar. Now, from last 1 year, I am at GDC Patan, that is in the Baramulla district of Kashmir. So I think that's all. I'm brief. One more thing with the physicists is that unlike the literaries, the poets, because when we have to be on the days or when we have to speak, we don't have any quotes or couplets, to begin with or to end. Like we fall short in those things. We just work out. We begin by breaking the inertia, gaining the momentum, and then landing at some.
Phenomenal escape velocity, I would say. This is incredible. Go ahead, Tanzila.
I mean, when Mahi started with Azmuji, I was like, oh, after Vazwan, we should have dessert. And I wanted to go to Sana, but because obviously I'm scared of physics, Kutsia, so that's why I didn't want to like move to you. But then this is such an incredible story, from Azmuji as well, like breaking barriers, leading from the front, breaking all these stereotypes from you, Kutsia, and also when you hear all these people today, you will all realize that actually there's so much common, among all of us, because we have all been through similar experiences, somewhere or the other. The face of it is different, but actually the experiences are similar. I would like to go to my dessert person because I love cakes. Sanaji, please tell us a little bit about your story.
Sure. Thank you, Tanzila. So I would like to start with my introduction first for the new audience that must have joined. I am Sana Imtiaz, a home baker. I've started baking at the age of 18, like professionally, and I've always been inclined towards cooking and baking. Like from my childhood itself, I used to, watch Sanjeev Kapoor shows and jot down the recipes, and I always loved cooking and baking. So it was since my childhood only that I used to cook and bake for the people at home. And but later, once I passed my 12th, I had PCB, like medical, as my subjects in plus two. So like any other person, usually Kashmiri, your parents give you a conventional career choices. It is either to choose medical as your subjects or to opt for non-medical. So I was given a similar choice, and I thought that because my PCB was good in my 12th, so I was eligible for a quota. That's basically a free quota, and you get a admission in Bangladesh in a government college, so you don't have to pay anything for that. It depends upon your physics, chemistry, and biology marks in 12th. So my physics, chemistry, biology was around I had 99 in my biology. I don't know how, but I had 99 in my biology. Now I wonder how I got 99 that time. So I knew that I was eligible, and I was probably the fourth or fifth person from Kashmir having scored 99 in my biology. And it was pretty sure that I would get an admission in Bangladesh. But once the list came out, to my surprise, people who had lesser merit than mine, they got selected, and I was not selected. And I, along with one of my friends who Mr. Altaf Saab knows very well, Taha Firdos, she's in US only. And both of us, we didn't get selected. And those who had lesser merit than us, they were selected, and they've also completed MBBS right now from Bangladesh only. So both of us were quite disheartened because we had because the session in Bangladesh starts from January, so we had already dropped almost a year for the MBBS. And but my friend Taha, she was quite bold, and she said, no, we can't just do nothing about it. We have to do something. So she and me, along with my family, we went to Bangladesh embassy in New Delhi, and we revolted against it. We met Sushma Swaraj that time. We met all the everybody almost. We went to the Bangladesh embassy. We met people there, and we told them about the forgery that had taken place. But I think maybe probably they already knew about the forgery, and nothing happened that time. But later, after 3 months, a list came out, and our name was there, and we were selected. But both of us decided that we're not ready for this now, because we've already been through a lot, and this is not right. I mean, if they're already taking people who didn't score well, and the forgery had taken place, so we were quite disheartened, and we didn't go for the MBBS. So Taha went to Stephens, and I went to Miranda House in New Delhi. By the time I went to Miranda House, I'd already started baking at my home only. So Instagram that time was very new, and I just made up a page. And Taha, in fact, she helped me out. She said that let's just make a page, and we're anyway free till we join Miranda House. So we already have few months. We have almost 6 months. So let's just keep ourselves busy, and let's just start a page. And you are a good baker, and I'll help you with it. So I'd already done a 1 week course in IHM Srinagar only. So I started a page, and I started taking orders, and I used to get, I think, one order in a week, or it wasn't that much, but I was probably the second or third person from Kashmir.
Just me, or
Is it just
has
me,
Yeah,
or
no, I
Yeah,
can't
no,
hear
I
you, Sana.
also lost the audio. Yeah,
And
I
and now
we
the
lost
video
your
as well.
audio.
Yeah, we lost the audio.
Am I audible now?
Now,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
please
now you are.
continue. Yeah.
So prior to me, it was Farah Tanki who had initially started, and there was one more home baker, and then I was probably the third one who started. And then, and I was quite young, I was 18 that time. So Taha and me, we just decided that let's just give it a try, let's just take orders. And that's how it started, honestly. Like, I had no, I had no mind for, making it, turning my passion into business. I never thought that I could turn my passion into a business. So I later we went to Miranda House and I stopped baking because I was in Delhi. But when I was there, I realized that I'd already found my niche, and I really enjoyed baking, and I really enjoyed that time. And I was doing BSc Zoology honors in Miranda House, and I couldn't adjust with the course there. And I felt that no, I think I should go back home, and I think I should start with the baking, and I should get graduated as well. But I should study in Kashmir only because my clientele is already based in Kashmir, and also the fact that I've started in Kashmir and just wanted to go back home and start all over it again through it. So later. But my parents were not ready for it at all. Both of them were government employees, and then, like Azmat already said, it's very difficult to first you have to break the stereotype at your own home. So that's how I had to start with it. Like, I had to convince my parents for months. It took me around 5 months to convince them that I wanted to come back home and that I wanted to start with the baking again. बट देन वही सोसाइटी का प्रेशर, लाइक अजमत जी ऑलरेडी मेंशन्ड कि उसको किसी ने कहा था दैट रिश्ते के टाइम पे somebody had told her ऐसे वाजा वाजा का काम करती हैं. Similar thing I also faced. Somebody had told my parents that will you allow your daughter to be a kandur? That is the stereotypical Kashmiri mind that people here have. And that is what for my parents, it was tough post that. Like, it was tough for them to accept the fact that I left Miranda just because I wanted to start with baking. So I remember it took me a lot of time, and in fact, I was quite depressed. When I came back from Miranda, I was really depressed, even though they accepted the fact that I don't want to go back. But once I came back, I remember for quite some time I couldn't face the society. I don't know what it was. I think I was really scared of people telling me कि तुमने 2 साल waste किए. Now you have to start with baking. Baking कौन सा career option है? I was really scared of those questions, and I didn't want to face any of them. So, but now that I've been in this business since 8 to 9 years, and then I graduated and I also did my business side by side, I realized that things in these years have changed so much. In Kashmir only, there are more than 200 home bakers, and people remember me because I was probably in the first ones who started. And I think somehow I tried to break the stereotype, and then it became more acceptable somehow. And now even the people who used to tell my parents that this is not right, and ये ऐसे कैसे कर सकती हमारी फैमिली में कोई गया नहीं है. My parents were government employees, तो उनको बोला गया that you have been in bank, you have been in university, why are you allowing your daughter to enter into this field? So but now down the line, when I look back, it's like उस time पे it was not very much acceptable, and now it has been so acceptable. And people from a lot of people are coming up as home bakers, and it's really great to see women joining this field. And I know that I'm not alone now, and then the fact that वो stereotype break हुआ है. And alhamdulillah, जो उस time पे बोलते थे कि no, this is not a good career option, nowadays they are the ones who say, oh, she's our relative, or yeah, she's the one who started, and things like that. So yeah, this is about my journey, and this was the most difficult part that I faced in my journey.
That's incredible. Actually, I just want to say one quick thing. I love your never say die attitude. I think that is something that really is like a trailblazer thing that actually just pushes you ahead. I am pretty sure people who will listen to you, especially young women, they're going to derive so much inspiration from your story, Sana. Mahi, please go
Thank
on.
As I was going to say, it is unfortunate that in our society where the Vaza community or the Kandar community, as we call them, are the backbone of our societies. We function, we celebrate, we eat because of all of those communities. And it is unfortunate that we define a person's identity by their work. I am hoping that as a society, as people get educated, as they get inspired by you, Sana and Asmat, that the fold comes to a place where we're not defining people because they do a certain thing. We are defining people because they have an ethic, that they have success, that inspires people around them. The defining quality is, Sana is a wonderful, wonderful lady who decided to do a business. Or Asmat is a smart young lady who decided to take a different career path, not because Vaz bane aya kandar bane. And I know as hyperbolic and as high aspirational as it is, I do think this is a start of something big, and I'm absolutely proud and honored to hear these stories. So thank you for that.
And I also love it that we have such a diverse panel today. So we went from Vazwan to dessert, and I would now like also physics. And I'm sorry, it's my bias against physics. It's nothing to do with could hear you. It's just I am worried about physics, but I loved your story. We would like to go to Afshana ji is not on the call anymore, or let me see, she's not on my screen.
He just texted me. She may have to peel off for unavoidable reasons. If she's still on, maybe she can go for next.
Oh, okay. If she joins back, we're going to go to her then. So let me go to Seerat, because I am fascinated to hear like all Mahi's stories about your work. So tell us a little bit about yourself, but also some stories.
Okay. So I'm Seerat, and I work as an offshore geotechnical engineer. Basically, I specialize in analyzing and understanding the soil and the rock conditions beneath the ocean floor. So to ensure the safe and efficient design of offshore structures, whether it be like wind farms mostly. So we are working towards sustainable future, and we are on the forefront that I work on. If I come to my story, choosing a career didn't seem much of a big decision for me. As for most of the people back home, it's either doctor or an engineer. And I didn't have much exposure or access to mentors from varied fields. We come from a family of engineers, so it was like Rohjan was already there towards engineering. But equally was the interest towards being a doctor. And if I look back, equally towards being a chef, equally towards taking English. But somehow I stuck with engineering. I did my civil engineering from NIT Srinagar. However, I soon learned it's never too late to start carving your own path and challenge the norms. The toughest decision I think I had to take was to pursue a master's in geotechnical engineering, which was faced with opposition as it's a very small niche, especially for a girl in Kashmir, and we were looking for jobs and job opportunities in Kashmir. It was the first time I had taken up the courage to stand up by my decision, and alhamdulillah, the hard work and perseverance paved off. It opened doors I had never imagined possible. Sailing out to North Sea every 3 months, I'm there as an offshore soil specialist still feels unreal. And it developed me from a shy, nervous girl who had never even ventured out of Srinagar alone into an offshore shift lead, faring against challenges, which you've been asking, what are the challenges? Imagine being confined to a vessel and even a smaller room for weeks at end. Being seasick at like 10-meter high stormy waves. Leading an all-male team while upholding my principles, my boundaries, sticking to my values, be it religious, be it any values that I hold, and training staff on the job in strenuous 12-hour night shifts. And before all of that, undergoing physically demanding survival trainings. Like imagine being thrown into a pool and simulating evacuating from helicopters, jumping off buildings, which seems so unreal. I was not that athletic, to be honest. So it surprises me how far a single moment of advocating for yourself can change your life for the better. And from my journey, I'll also tell you, like, when you take a path not treaded before, you often find yourself alone in the struggles and not being able to relate to. And in these moments, it's the support of your family. It's the support of the peers that are around you. In my case, my parents, my in-laws, and especially my partner, who's been a rock. And people like you, and thank you, Mahidi, who celebrate, who support, who encourage, and that helps in breaking the ceiling for women in all spheres of life. For me, it was in career. And if I have to go back and say, and then advice to my younger self, I would have said, do not be afraid of failures. Just upskill, look at your passions, go and explore them. There are days when I still think, well, I can be a chef, and maybe I will. I think it's in my cards. Maybe I'll just say, but to have that understanding and then to have that view comes from experience. And these were some challenges that have literally helped me grow in the past 2 years. It feels a long time, but I've actually grown more in these 2 years than ever before.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much. I mean, so we actually have a panel of like, a celebrated chef, a celebrated baker to like an amazing accomplished physicist and also someone, a geotechnical engineer. I even don't know, like, when I read your like brief, I was like, what is this field? Like, I don't even know, but this is incredible work. And, you guys are an inspiration to so many youngsters who are going to watch this. Mahi, please go on. You wanted to say something?
I was just going to say I moved because I have known Seerat for many years now. She's part of my family, and I have known her grow from a shy, brilliant young engineer to this leader that she has become. It brought me tears because, if you were a man, you would never reflect back on your journey and say, I had to fight a certain fight. I think maybe 100 years ago, maybe when Dr. Saab left Kashmir and he had to make a choice between staying and leaving. But we're still in a place where our fates, if we don't advocate for ourselves, get decided by either paternal, fraternal, societal norms. And it kills so many of these wonderful flames of ambition, flames of a vision of our life. And I think maybe this is a start of a conversation, and I hope we can make it into a wave of force that actually becomes a platform for women to reach out to each other and say, I need support, I need guidance, I need someone to listen to me and tell me whether this is right or wrong and enable me to take a risk that maybe no one before me has taken. And I'm going to say something from my personal journey. I was 22 and I had a full ride scholarship to come to Rutgers for a PhD in genomics. And as liberal as my parents were, because I was brought up outside of Kashmir, the constant din that they heard was, "Tum school chaware lakat, shadi kara do, bhej do, uske baad bhej dena. I'm scared to go some kuni sani. To na pata izzat ka kaam hai." And I have always been a straight-laced person. I have never really done anything scandalous. I don't even know what scandalous means, but I know if my father hadn't said, his exact words were, I had promised my daughter that she can go to Timbuktu if she has a scholarship. She proved herself. She's won a wonderful scholarship to New York. She will go. I have lost that bet, and I'm going to let her go. And to me, he said, I am taking a huge risk for you, but I have faith that you will do the right thing. And just those words, they stick with you. But you have to have, I was extremely stubborn. I would have flown out anyway, but it was so heartwarming to leave the country with his support. And he has galvanized so many girls in my own family, and Syed is aware of that, to leave and break the mold and fly off the nest. And I don't want to belabor the point, but I have seen Seerat grow personally because I know her. She's like my sister. And I really wish that we get to a place where if girls don't find support within the nucleus of the family, which is ideal, that we can provide a sisterhood, a platform where they can reach out and talk and exchange ideas. So I'm going to stop with that and we can move on to the next question. And I know it's my turn, I think. We were talking about leadership qualities, not the quote unquote corporate leadership qualities, but the qualities that help you advocate for yourself or lead a team or lead a group of experienced Vaza team. So I'm going to start, and maybe Asma, this is a question for you because this is an unusual career choice as most of you guys have made. But I wanted to ask you, and everybody else, please feel free to chime in, is what qualities do you think that kind of help you become unique and give you the leadership skills that you think you have? What are the qualities you think as a female entrepreneur leader are needed for success?
I think, as women, we have this inherent sense of empathy and this inherent sense of, this inherent sense of being able to understand what the other person's going through and empathize with that. And I think that's something that really helps you when you're trying to, I'll talk from personal experience. When I started doing this, and I'm hardly a chef. I have barely got anything to do in the kitchen at all. But I need the kitchen team to work exactly how I want them to work to be able to make the restaurant what it is. If at all I am is basically the creative brain behind setting up that space and making sure that the conversations around that space are held in the right manner, and the narrative of that place is something that I really am trying to ensure. I think it's very important to be able to, for me at least, it was my team didn't had to make sure that when they were looking at me, they were looking at somebody who was A, young, B, did not probably know the tricks of the trade the way they knew it, but was somebody who had a hunger to learn. And once I sort of understood what they were actually talking about, turning that around into something which was a lot more presentable, a lot more, out there. So sort of being able to take their input without them feeling threatened by my presence, without them feeling like, oh, there's this one bossy lady who's sitting on our head and giving us directions and telling us, ye kar to ho kar. So I think that's something that really helped. Even now, the relationship that I share with my staff, and touch wood, my staff has been with me for 7 years. I think one of those things that people who start Kashmiri restaurants have always told me. I remember when I started the restaurant as well, one guy who used to own a Kashmiri restaurant in the 90s in Bangalore picked up the phone and called me and said, listen to my advice, you're my young sister, I don't think you should do this, it's not going to work. I want my hands, I know this is not something that's going to work. I remember hearing that and saying, you know what, I'm going to make this work. He said, no, the team's not going to stick with you. They'll leave the minute they get a better opportunity. Touch wood, 7 years down the line, my team's still with me. And I've made sure that this story is not just about the growth of Sarposh as a brand or the restaurant. The story is about the growth of every single person involved. 99% of my staff is Kashmiri. And that's a very, very conscious choice that we made. It was about making choices where my team, instead of feeling like, oh, we've come to a city like Bangalore, and that whole inferiority complex that we have the minute we walk out of Kashmir, we suddenly feel like, oh, we're not good enough. I think the fact that I was able to give them a certain sense of empowerment where they were free to own their culture, they were free to own their identities and take pride in it. I think that's something that really is something that propels you forward, not just for yourself, but for everyone involved. I made sure that my team took pride in wearing the clothes that they wanted to wear instead of conforming to, okay, aise dress mein aana hai, waise dress mein aana hai. I made sure that my team was comfortable eating the kind of food that they wanted to. We used to fly in kosher butter from Kashmir for them. When my ingredients can fly in from Kashmir, I don't see why butter cannot fly for my team as well. So, making sure that those kind of things, that kind of empathy, having that kind of empathy for your team is something that really helps you lead them to, them and yourself to a path where you all find success together. Uh, I encourage them to own their language. I encourage them to be able to speak in Kashmiri. I encourage them to be proud of their accent and their MTI as well. If you go through the menu at Sarposh, there is no Rista Gushtaba mentioned on the menu. It is Rista, it is Gushtaba the way it is supposed to be. And that's something that was very empowering for my team, because they realized that, especially say the service staff, because all of my service staff is also from Kashmir, they realized that they didn't have to go to a guest and say, sir, aap mirchi korma kha lijiye. They were very comfortable saying, sir, it's called marzwangan korma. Like when you walk into a French and Italian restaurant and you're okay learning the pronunciation of the different dishes that are served over there, I don't see why you wouldn't want to do that in an authentic Kashmiri restaurant. And being able to take pride in something that is inherently you. I absolutely refuse to let my team water down things to, say, putting a biryani on the menu just because we're low on sales and biryani is the number one ordered item all across India. And I said, nothing doing. I remember when we started the restaurant, I did not have a kandur, I did not have a bread guy. And it is absolutely unheard of to run a restaurant which is sort of serving a cuisine where you're having gravies and where you're having starters and, more to have a Kashmiri restaurant and to not have bread. And my husband, who's not a Kashmiri, one day after a guest had an outburst, said, what's the big deal? Let's just have some Rumali rotis at least. And I said, you know what? If someone's walking into my restaurant and they don't get roti, it's absolutely fine, because we don't eat roti with our gravies. We eat rice, and we eat our rotis with chai. And I'm not serving them like chai over here. I'm just serving them food, and it's fine if they eat it with rice. And I know how to convey that message to them. And I stuck my ground until I actually found a kandur and started doing Kashmiri breads. And for a good part of a year, we actually did not have any breads on the menu at all. And uh, that seeing something like that for some of my team who had worked in restaurants before was really heartening, because they realized that this is a person who's willing to put herself out there, who's willing to take that step, who's willing to step up and say, okay, this is the right thing to do, and I'm going to do it even at the cost of monetary gain and monetary benefit. And I think when your team sees you do things like that, it reflects on the overall morale of the team as well. I remember the first time we won the Times Food Awards, and we had won Best Kashmiri, and we were not aware that we'd also been awarded Restaurant of the Year. So we've been winning Best Kashmiri for 7 years in a row now, touch wood. But we had also won Restaurant of the Year that day, and they called me up and said, we need you and your chef to come down for like a prelim meeting before the awards are announced. And I remember my chef and I walking into that space, my chef literally dressed in his chappals and his, and all the chefs of all the other restaurants dressed in their chef coats. And talking in English, communicating with each other, networking with each other. And my chef was sort of lurking in the shadows, not really sure of himself. I was like, you know what? You need to step up, come with me, and I'm going to introduce you to every single one of them. And I made sure that I introduced him to every single chef and every single hotel owner. And this is like a very, very big award function. We've got like hundreds of restaurants being awarded that day, and meeting all of them. I remember the confidence boost that my chef got that day. And I think when you look at your team as a family, when you look at not just monetary gain, or when you we're doing a business, at the end of the day you do want to make money. But if that is your sole purpose, and if that is your sole focus, you'll crush everything else in between, and that's the only thing you'll start chasing. And you may earn some money, but you're going to lose everything else in between. And I think as an entrepreneur, if that's something that you can really take care of, if you are able to take care of your team with a certain amount of love, affection, empathy. I know it may be contrary to all the other things that everybody may say. Leadership is about doing this and leadership is about doing that. I think leadership is really about coming back down, sitting down on the same table with everybody else and trying to empathize and understand what the other person's going through, and sort of equalizing that entire and democratizing that entire space. And I think when you're in that sort of a situation, I think Seerat would agree, that's what propels the ship forward. So yeah, that's what I would say.
This is wonderful. Just want to add one thing. You may not have formalized it. What you are displaying is, on the corporate side, we call it servant leadership. And I think this is an opportunity. I should talk to you because I just wrote an article on servant leadership. I think this is servant leadership and entrepreneurship. It's something that we should actually write and highlight, and we can talk about it. But congratulations. I think you are organically a servant leader, which is a huge compliment in this world because there aren't. And majority of women tend to be very successful servant leaders. So kudos, and thank you for sharing that. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I would like to actually ask you, I mean, I know that Ahmed I wanted to ask a question, but I want to ask you, Asmaji, how do you balance this confidence with the humility? A few words, if you could tell us, yeah.
I mean, to be honest, I really don't think that we've done something phenomenally. At least not by myself. I don't know where I would have started. I don't know where I would have reached. I think it is the fact that my parents, my father and my mother, they've really, really supported me all through this journey. My entire team has really stood by me through every single thing that we've been through. They've stood by me during COVID. They've stood by me in times where we just started the restaurant when COVID hit. I remember not even having a single day of operations in and having to overturn the chairs and the tables and wait for a day when we could finally open. And, after having put in all of your savings, everything that you have, taking help from your parents as well, and putting all of that in as well, to see your dream live in front of you, but then at the same time not being able to sort of put it in action. I think we've really grown one step at a time. We've taken all of these small steps, and these opportunities have come our way through the love, prayers, and the blessings and the hard work of the team. So I mean, I really don't think that this is something where I can take an opportunity and brag about how wonderful I have been in this process, because I've just been like one link in the chain that has sort of created what we've been able to create with Saposh. And I think the only emotion that I can actually think of is humility, because it's a huge, huge, huge responsibility when you take it upon yourself to be able to become a certain, representative of sorts of Kashmiri culture, especially outside Kashmir. I'm nobody to sort of lay claims on Kashmiri culture and say, oh, I'm the be all and all. I'm the one stop solution for everything Kashmir. But I think as a Kashmiri who truly, truly wears her Kashmiri heart on her sleeve, I think for me, the most important thing is to be able to go back to sleep at night knowing that every single thing, every single foot that I've put forward today, I've been honest and true to my reality. I've been honest and true to my vision of Kashmir. I've been honest and true to everything that I really want Kashmir to sort of be represented as. And I think that's the most important thing that has been my guiding light all of this time and will continue to be for times to come.
Ms. Kutsia, you've in your own, what is common in the other panel is we have all kind of jumped ship and left Kashmir and done things outside, but you have managed to carve a path for yourself in such a male-dominated profession in Kashmir with the constraints that society has. I want to celebrate that a little bit. I want you to tell me, where does that strength come from? If you had thought about your life and if you had kind of the opportunity to choose a different path, would you do that? Like what made you go where you are? What would you like to change? And when you, at the end of the day, sit back and say, today was a rough day at work, what could I do differently? How would my life would be different? I just want to know, the conversations we have of strength, where do you get that from? Because I think, in all honesty, the hardest life is to bear the social pressures and carve a path in Kashmir more than outside of Kashmir. And Sana, I think you probably share that as well. But I wanted to hear from Kutsi ma'am, ki kuch boliye. Just give us that path, give us that conversation you have with yourself.
I think all of it was inbuilt or inborn. I did not have to look for it. I did not have to search for it. I did not have to crave for it. I did not have to struggle for it, to be very honest. Yes. Because as I said earlier also, that I had a natural inclination towards physics. I did not mind that it is dominated by boys or by men. Rather, I would like to, quote few incidences from my student life and then from my professional life also. But before that, I recall certain things. One is that I would like to second what Azmat said. I mean, that's all. That was so nice to hear all of it from her. There was a news item that flashed some time back, quite a few years back, from Mr. Dalai Lama, who happens to be the community head of a sect of Buddhists, that the next successor that he would like to choose in his lifetime after him would be a woman. And that too for the reasons of compassion, because we inherently are compassionate, isn't it? So that is one of the reasons. Now, at the place now where I am currently working, I'm also I'm having the lead role there. I'm working as a head of the Department of Physics there. And the other colleagues that I have with me are males only, right? But the atmosphere is so cordial, so cooperative, full of warmth. Not only that, we share and care about our work and our other especially in the wake of new education policy 2020 coming into the force. But we also share and care about our family issues. When I was a student, I remember at University of Kashmir, we used to have groupings in practical sessions. Trust me that the boys would place me in the lead role to present the practical. How did we do it and how did we go about it? Similarly, when it was the time of doing a project at the end of master's course in physics, the boys had placed me again in the lead role to present it to the external examiner. I also recall that when we were at IIT Chennai during the course of pursuing our PhD program, we had been to IIT Chennai quite a few years back. Again, the boys were placing me in the lead position that you are going to present it. You are going to. The ultimate thing is that it's immaterial whether you are a man or a woman. If you are capable, you have read well, you have prepared well, you can plan it, execute it, manage it well, present it well, convince people. Previously you should be yourself convinced for whatever you are doing. So that makes it easy. And then your gender actually becomes irrelevant. So that's how I feel about it.
That's amazing. I mean, I love your confidence. On that note, I actually want to give a chance to the boy we have with us as well. Amin bhai, please go ahead.
Yeah. No, I mean, so many inspiring stories. I mean, I am inspired today. I have learned so much. And thank you, everyone, I mean, for sharing your stories and for being so amazing and so accomplished. My question, I mean, I want to know that where do you get this strength from? I mean, any of the panelists could answer that. This is not about man and women, anyone. I mean, we oftentimes feel scared taking a new step and delving into such a field. I mean, you all have taken such different fields. Somebody is an entrepreneur having a restaurant or baking, and then Kutsia ma'am taking physics when everyone would think that it might be difficult. Seerat ma'am just talked about how physically enduring her training was. I mean, I was amazed by her story as well. So going into such difficult field would be like very scary for anyone. Forget about man, women, anyone. I mean, and what gives you that strength? So that's my just simple question. I mean, I want to learn from you.
Yeah, let's actually ask Sana. She's been quiet.
Yes, Raman, please, please.
Yes, sure. I think I got this strength from my mother, to be honest. I mean, she has always been so supportive. I still remember when I already told you that, I left Miranda House. I think the moment I thought that I want to leave Miranda House, I called up my mother. I told her that I want to come back home. I want to join baking, and you just trust me with it, and I'll do good. Just have faith in me. And she said, कोई बात नहीं, वापस आना है वापस आ जाओ. Don't worry, I am with you. I am here. don't worry about the society, don't worry about what people tell you. I am with you, I am standing by your side, you don't need anybody else's support. And I think that was the push I really needed that time. And I came back, and then my mother told me, ab ek kaam karte hain, let's do one thing. My mother was working in Kashmir University. So my father was not very much up for it, and he was for him it was not very much acceptable at that time, 8 9 years back. So my mother told me that let's just do one thing, let's take up a course. You just find few baking courses online, and I am with you, I'll pay you for your fees, you don't worry about it. And that time it was a 20 days course, and it costed me about 2 lakh rupees. It was just a 20-day course. And she said, koi baat nahi, main hu, I'll support you, you just go. And I again went to Delhi for 20 days, and I did a course, I did a diploma in cake decoration from CCDS. And when I came back, then my mother asked me, ab tabiyat theek hai na? Because I was quite depressed, and she thought that if I go and join a baking course, I might feel better. And then, her continuous efforts of just making me feel better and making me feel proud of my work throughout all these years. And then again I told her that ab main soch rahi hu, I want to change my kitchen, I want to have a cloud kitchen now, because ghar ke kitchen mein it was really difficult to bake. And because मेरी मम्मा वैसे भी बहुत परेशान हो जाती थी, सब कुछ तहस नहस इधर उधर. So I told her that I need to have a cloud kitchen so that I can work properly and I won't disturb you from now. So I had later she helped me with that as well. And then when I started with the cloud kitchen, वहाँ पे AC नहीं था. And even my first oven, my mother gifted me that oven as well. So, these few things I still remember after 8 9 years, all the small things that she did for me, the small gestures. Then she gifted me an AC for my bakery. And all of that, I feel that if I've come here today, it is only and only because of her. Only because of her support, and the strength I got is only from her.
Amazing. And here is a note for us at Kashmir Care Foundation, Altaf sir, that we want to take. So here for Sana ma'am, it was her mother who became that strength. So though there was a lot of monetary help also, but I think beyond that monetary help, that moral support actually did a lot good to you. So
Yeah.
at Kashmir Care Foundation, we want to take this note that for some of those girls who might not have that support within their families and all, let us come forward and try to present to them a platform where we can be of that support system to them. Altaf, yeah. Over to you, Tanzila.
Yes, that's a wonderful, wonderful thought. Actually, something we should really do and work proactively towards. Samar bhai, thank you so much for your question. I want to ask you, Seerat, actually, you have this incredible job. And first of all, I don't think I can endure something like that because I'm physically unfit. But I want to know, how do you prioritize your work, your personal life, with your self-care? How do you actually provide that to yourself? And what are some of the habits or the routines that have contributed to your success at your job?
So balancing work, personal life, and self-care, it's a work in progress. But I'm really, really grateful for the company that I work in. It's really big on having work-life balance at one end. So I have a few steps in place. For example, even in the office, I would make sure, I'm so sorry that people talking behind me. So one of these steps that I do have is in the office, I'll keep focused slots of work. I'll always have these headphones on. And people will be like, are you on a call? No, I'm just focusing. That's and I'll make sure I'll take breaks, be it I have my prayer time breaks, and the office has provided a room, which has been I advocated for it. And so it was done. Okay, fine. Yes, we understand. After lunch, everyone go out for a walk, come back in, refocus. And the biggest thing that I do is to switch off, and I'm off the clock, switch off work. When I moved from India, I had done a job hardly a few months, but already I could see the work culture in India to be completely opposite. You take, or from you take the work home and you keep on thinking. And when I joined, I was like, okay, I need to keep up with people are doing amazing things and overcompensating. So I kept on taking work home in sorts, like I would read or maybe just over prepare, see what the files are about. And I had my manager reach out saying, no, don't do that. It's your time. Leave work. And that really helped because that gave me time to reset and come back with a fresher mind. And now I have in place towards the end of the day, if there is a work that I can't focus on, I'll be true to myself instead of going through, dragging it, compromising the quality. I'll say, I understand I am not completely fit to do it right now because I'm exhausted. So I'll take a break. I'll maybe start early, but I'll take a break. So that's been on the work side. But personal life and self-care, it's an opposite story because they go so much in line that you often forget there is a boundary in between. It's a very fine line. So I often found myself like wrapped in personal commitments, be it like socializing with people, organizing meetups. Like when we moved here, we hardly knew people. So it took effort to organize meetups, to go and find people, to build a community. But it was draining it as well. Like after a supposedly relaxed 2 weekend days, I would be exhausted mentally, physically, like, come on, give me a break. And I started dreading works on Monday. So I sat down, reflected, and realized it was not working. I was pushing myself to a point of burnout. And so I started taking some steps to prioritize self-care, to make sure it's there in the routine. Be it getting enough sleep, going foraging in the nearby woods, reconnecting with the word of Allah, stargazing, or dipping into an art project in some corner of the room, or shut myself in the kitchen and be like, do not disturb, let inspiration flow, let me cook something up. And all of this has helped me like balance it all. And I've seen the efficiency in office go up when I'm taking care of myself. And also the communities are also budding up. So that's about it.
I think that's beautiful to have like supportive colleagues or supportive like mentors. Amar bhai, you want to say something?
Yeah. So I also wanted to ask quickly, how can we men be allies to your stories, success stories, and how can we help? I mean, we want to, because it's not just me or the people here at Kashmir Care Foundation. We do meet, though there might be some people who are on the other side of the fence, may not be that supportive, but times are changing. I must tell you, we have some colleagues, we have friends who really want to be out there and want to do something, and not that as a favor, because they also believe that yes, there is a lot of potential. It's just that those opportunities are not provided, and we do want to help, and we want to know how we can. So any one of you, could you please answer that? Tanzila, you want to direct this to someone to balance?
I can actually nominate, let's say, Kutsia ji. Let's hear from you.
So I will say that fathers will have to take a lead role in that. I remember some time back, a new write-up of mine that flashed in GK was about grounding the fathers, right? So fathers need not feel pride in their sons only, even their daughters can make them, add a feather in their caps. So, for instance, some time back we were talking about time. So I'll say that time in today's world, or at any point of time, I mean, since the universe has been there, time is the real currency with us. And it goes without saying that we have to learn its management. So I would like to even go to Quran. One of the verses is that, Wal asr innal insana lafi khusr. That even Almighty Allah swears by time, because time is the real asset with us. But people are wasting it here and there in useless and purposeless activities. Now, coming back to your question that what should men do? Again, as I said, that fathers will have to take the lead role in that, not just their sons. For example, let me take some examples, some from the secular domain, some from the religious domain. For example, when I came to know that Indira Gandhi was the one of the, prime ministers of India who did very well in her tenure, despite whatever things were there here and there around her. But she managed it very well. When I was little, I thought that perhaps Chacha Nehru did not have a son, so he had to nominate his daughter. But then I came to know that he even had sons, but even then he would entrust it to his daughter. So that made me happy. So even in the companions of Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, for example, say Abu Bakr. Abu Bakr is glorified more by his daughter Aisha than by any of his sons. So this is how, fathers will have to take a lead role. It's how I,
That's beautiful.
Thank you,
I
Ruchira.
actually want to
Thanks.
share a short story about my own career that I always wanted to be a scientist and do research. And like when I was doing my undergrad in Bangalore, and my dad asked me what do I want to do, and I said that I want to be in research, and he wanted me to become do UPSC and then become an IAS officer like Shafas, so be a bureaucrat. And fast forward many years, I did my master's in England. Like I went to do my PhD in Switzerland. So one day, experiment काम नहीं किया. So I told back home, you're frustrated and you're like every day is like a different milestone when you're doing your PhD. So I told my dad, I was like, experiment काम नहीं कर रहा है, and he was like I'm doing my PhD now in neurobiology. He's telling me मैंने बोला था IAS करने के लिए, क्यों नहीं किया उस वक्त IAS? So I was like, what? Even if they were proud, and parents were very proud of me, but then still that thing is at the back of your mind, So I think it's very difficult to break stereotypes, but we are heading towards the right direction already. This has been an incredible experience with so many stories, your diverse backgrounds, your milestones you have achieved, your accomplishments. We salute you. We salute all the mothers who have actually been at the forefront in your lives as well. Faluk, over to you.
Thank you, Tanzila. I think as we are coming towards the end of this discussion today, I just want to take a moment and thank each and everyone here for being part of this important discussion, right? It's a privilege to listening to all of your journeys, your stories, how you're sharing these valuable insights of how you're navigating through this. Because I know even with the amount of success each one of you individually have conquered so far, the path is not still that easy as it may seem for people from outside, right? So it's amazing to see how y'all are sharing these insights of how to navigate this cobweb of a world that is there in front of you. I appreciate these kind of thoughtful discussions that we're having today. And I think for me, honestly speaking, what was the most favorite part of today's discussion was that openness in talking about all these challenges. We did not hesitate to confront these unfortunate stigmas and biases that exist in today's world, right? Even in today's day and age, unfortunately. But it was good to see this open discussion about all of this. So thank you once again to each and everyone for doing that, for sharing that, and for having this thought-provoking discussion with all of us. And what I strongly believe is that each and every one of us here has a very important role to play in this movement, right? It's whether it's through our actions in our workspace, whether it's through our support that we give to these leaders, women leaders, or even by basically standing up to these stigmas or challenges that we see in our day-to-day life. We need to carry forward that kind of energy, that kind of go ahead with this momentum that we have over here. And together, I think we can bring that kind of an impactful change in the world. So thank you for everyone sharing your insights. And I'm looking forward to how we can take this energy forward in our day-to-day lives. Back to you.
I also want to say that we have just started the dialogue. I quickly want to check with Sabaji if you are available. I know that she does have something going on. Sabaji, please chime in if you're available. I can cover for you. Oh, sure. Yeah, go ahead.
Hi. So thank you. It was such a great panel, and I'm just kind of feeling guilty that only we got to hear these ladies. These are such great stories, and each one of them individually, uniquely inspiring. I think this should be like every Kashmiri needs to know and hear it, and just a lot of points that I can resonate with, including the society, your own family. I think all of us over here have that, especially one strong male member of the family who has stood with us, and that is needed. It's just a very deep societal change that is needed, because limitless things to do. The mindset has to change. It's not just fathers, it will be brothers. It's people coming and saying things in our families is very common, like in the case of mom, I think. And our parents are of the generation where log kya kahenge is very important for them. So that kind of really hits us. So if we can just try and slowly get these stories out and make it, I didn't know a lot of these stories. I know these ladies. I don't know their backgrounds and these interesting points. Just excellent to hear. And let's get these stories out and meet them and get them to talk to more people and more Kashmiris, especially girls. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, everyone. And I also want to say that, we at Kashmir Care Foundation, we really strongly believe that we want to build a more inclusive, equitable world for women everywhere. That's why we are trying to also organize these sessions. And this is, I think, one of my favorite ones. I want to go back to Dr. Lal now for the closing.
Thank you so much, each one of you. To Qudsiya, we have a session probably in about 2-3 months on making of an entrepreneur. And Azmat aur meri baat hui hai us bare mein, where we actually define time as a commodity for which you do not pay, but if you don't use it, you actually pay. So, and I'm so honored the way you described it, the value of time from religious perspective and from layman's perspective as well.
Thank you.
Ye session jo hai is a beginning, and Tanzila and Mahi and Sabah, Amir and Zahur Saab and Falak and others know I don't sleep much. Tanzila also doesn't sleep much. It's not because we don't want to sleep. Dimag chalta rehta hai. So we're going to today, inshallah, start a KCF 168 project. That means 24/7, we're going to focus on women, the girl child, for Kashmir Care Foundation. Aapne kaha resilience, aapne kaha empathy, aapne kaha determination and education. I think men need to learn from you guys now. Men have to be men, but men had to become better because of who you are and the way you present what you are. So you need to keep on talking about what you just spoke to us. And by the way, Sabah will make this all video available on our YouTube channel and through our social media, and maybe snippets on Instagram that Tanzila and others are so good at. हमारा एक concept है, Azmat, मैंने शायद आपको कहा है, maybe I've mentioned that it is Kashmir Care Foundation Rolodex project. Rolodex, for those of you who were born before some years, was a small device. आपके टेबल पे होती थी, ऑफिस टेबल पे, उसमें कार्ड्स होते थे, उसमें नाम होता था, फोन नंबर होता था, एड्रेस होता था. We're going to create a global Rolodex, and that's where each one of you will sit. Please consider yourself be part of that Rolodex. कल को हमें अगर ज़रूरत है कुदसिया को किसी बच्ची से बात करानी, so that she is Qudsi of tomorrow, will have a linkage. Same for Azmat. Same for anyone else on this panel. Thank you so much. और आखिरी चीज मैं कहना चाहता हूँ, जो फैमिली की बात हो रही है, जिस फैमिली स्क्रीन पे है अभी, 3 दिन पहले we did not know each other. 3 हफ्ते पहले we probably didn't know we're going to talk to each other. Now we are together. ये फैमिली बन गई है अब. इस फैमिली को कैसे एक्सटेंड करना है? That's a responsibility and role for each one of us. Each one of you is the president of Kashmir Care Foundation. So you extend the conversation. Qudsiya, jab aap jayenge Patna College, by the way, I was so excited. Patna as Professor Bai Ahmad Saz. And Azmat knows I almost drove to Sarposh, but had to be brought back. Cricket match was Bangalore, so I couldn't go. Sana ke cake khaiyega. They are the best cakes in Kashmir. If you had to order it and send it to your friends, text her, she'll order it and she'll give you X% discount, which she gives me. I don't know what that X% is. So these are remarkable people you are. I think men need to learn from you. Amir, Zahur, and I are basically absorbing everything you're saying. So I want to thank you for who you are. Create clones of each other. promote each other and support each other. And by extension, you will be a better community to live in, will be the showcase of the world. What Seerat does in ocean floors, man, 2 दिन पहले तो मालूम ही नहीं था कि ये काम भी कुछ होता है. And Azmat, you were bold. Achme martswangan kormay na thavun. By the way, I got the recipe from my vaza and I'm making it for my son's wedding. So हमें औरतों की इज्जत नहीं खाली करनी, जो करनी है हमें आपसे सीखना है. Because you're not only the homemaker, you're the makers in this world. So with that, Tanzila, thank you for promoting this concept. Mahi, you had to peel off Falak, Sabah, and everyone from the Kashmir Care Foundation. Thank you so much.